I would say we will just give it a few moments as it's letting everybody in. The number is steadily increasing.
Justin, are we just giving it a minute or two?
It looks like it's leveled off, so I would say we are good to go.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here this morning. My name is Bryn Kazoulis. I am the president of the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board. And on behalf of the board, I just want to say thank you for making the time today to be here. I'm going to introduce you to our wonderful board members who will give a wave to introduce themselves. And then I will turn it over to our vice president, Leslie Clark. So on our wonderful board, we have Terry Woodruff, who is with Healthy Acadia. Terry, you can say hello. We have Pat Crowley Rockwell, who was our resident trained recovery coach. We have Scott Gagnon, who is with AdCare. Bob Fickett with the Barn, who is with the Bangor Area Recovery Network. And last but certainly not least, we have our Vice President and Executive Director of the Portland Recovery Community Center, Leslie Clark, who will say a few words in just a moment. This day represents the culmination of so much work. So again, on behalf of the board, thank you to the work groups. Thank you to our panelists for making the time today. Thank you to everyone who's put the time and effort into bringing this board and the work of this board to fruition. And so with that, I will turn it over to Leslie.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Bryn, and thank you for your leadership on this project. You know, I got up this morning and I was thinking about a number of years ago when I went through the Institute for Civic Leadership Training. And in the end, they give you this plaque with a carabiner and a statement that says, if you bring the appropriate people together in constructive ways with good information, they will create authentic visions and sustainable responses and issues and opportunities within their communities and organizations. And I think the reason I woke up thinking about that is because that is exactly what I think has happened here throughout Maine over the last couple of years, with so much gratitude to the governor's office and to OBH, and we'll be hearing from Gordon and Smith and Dr. Pollard just shortly. The support and the project throughout the last couple of years has been all about collaboration and empowering communities to create sustainable local solutions. So I just want to say back in 2017, there was a little newly formed board of directors at the PRCC, and we sat around a table and did the things that new boards do with visions and missions. And the vision, as the board talked, is like, why do people have to come all the way to Portland or to Bangor where there's the Barn? And those are the only two places really in the state to come and participate in recovery community and recovery coaching. And created the vision that every local community in Maine would have a recovery community center. Along came our new governor and Gordon Smith and Jessica Pollard leading the work at OBH and resources. And today, just a couple of years later, we have 17 centers. We have over 800 trained recovery coaches, almost 100 who have registered on this new certification project. And I expect that by the end of today, we'll have many more. And I just want to take a moment to thank Nicole Proctor, who is the director of the Maine Recovery Hub at PRCC coordinating this work throughout the state, and Healthy Acadia as a partner in training all those coaches and helping collaborate in a really significant way. I want to thank Allie Bland, who is the administrative coordinator for the hub, and then through generous support from the Maine Health Access Foundation, which we're very grateful for. We also were able to bring on some administrative help with Sandy McConis, who's not here today. But most of all, leading this work, and who I want to thank and recognize, is Justin Reed. Justin is the statewide coordinator for recovery coaching, and in that role has done the real nitty-gritty of putting all of this together and leading the board while following the board in figuring out these standards and the details, and just with his calm always and his wisdom, and all at the same time still doing the rest of his work, which those of you, I see people signing on in the chat room. It's so good to see all these names. Know that Justin is always busy talking with Coachervision, doing trainings, creating trainings, and learning collaboratives. And so I just really want to give a shout out to Justin. I'm so pleased to be able to introduce Gordon Smith this morning. And Gordon has been such a champion and a friend and a leader from the beginning, and a real, what I think is the highest compliment is a servant leader in listening and leading and having a vision and being such a friend to the recovery community. So I'm so happy you're here this morning, Gordon, and thank you for all your work and support.
Well, thank you, Leslie, and thanks for giving me a couple minutes, and then you're going to hear from Dr. Pollard, my strong partner in this work. I want to congratulate also Justin, but Leslie and all of you on the board. It is a very important day, a milestone, if you will. While I didn't walk into this until February of 2019, at that time, the governor determined that our 4 pillars of this work would include recovery support as one. We have prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and recovery support. And people, particularly early in recovery, need a lot of support. And so recovery coaching, recovery centers, recovery residences, recovery friendly work sites, recovery ready communities, recovery ready campuses, all really important to our plan and helping people. So this, we've known for a long time that how important that recovery coaches can be to individuals who are seeking recovery, who are in recovery. And we declared on February 6th of 2019 in Executive Order number 2 that we would put funds together to train an additional 250 recovery coaches to what had already been trained on the ground. And since then, we've trained well over, and I say we, really you. Many of you have been involved in this work: Bob, Denise, Barry, Leslie, Justin. You've really done just an awesome job. We've trained well over 500 since February. So Leslie's right, we have over 800 in the state. Now the challenge is, how do we make the best use of all these individuals who have taken time to do the training? Not all of them will go on to be recovery coaches, we understand that, but many of them do. And it's not a bad start. It's a very good start, I think, to have 100 registered already under the new system. And we really look forward here in Augusta to having a directory of who's available to coach and what their training is. And the idea of having the second level of a state certification is just terrific. And so, again, you've got a long morning. I'm sure, along with Dr. Pollard, we wish we could stay with you. I keep threatening to take the 4-day course, but it's hard to find 4 days that work. to do that. But I admire the work you do. I appreciate the work that you do. The governor would want me to personally thank you for your efforts. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today. And I don't know whether I get the chance to introduce Dr. Pollard or whether it's coming back to Leslie, but thanks for your work, and have a great morning. And I look forward to staying in touch with all of you. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you so much, Gordon. Thank you for being here this morning. And I am happy and pleased to be able to introduce Dr. Pollard. It sounds like, Gordon, you would also be happy to do that. So I would defer to you. But before I do that, I'd just like to say, Dr. Pollard, how grateful we are for you. This is truly a partnership with the department. And you are leading that work over the last couple of years, just on the ground of building a system, a responsive and coordinated system. And with all of your staff, we are so appreciative. And Gordon, would you like to say a few words too? That would
Sure. It scares Dr. Pollard almost to death to have me do this, but she's been a great partner in this work. The Office of Behavioral Health is so important, and needed a lot of work when she got there. I'm sure it's been between a year and 2 years now. And while many people think we found this really superstar down at Yale Medical School, she started right up in Glenburn, Maine, and is a Maine native, and went to the University of Maine in Farmington, and then got to the University of Connecticut, ended up with her PhD and teaching at Yale Medical School. And we were really fortunate that Commissioner Lambrou saw the opportunity to get her back to Maine. And she's just been a terrific partner and is very committed to this work, and works very hard, as you all do. And so she's great. She's a friend, a partner, a great mom to Paxton, who just turned 2, it seems like. So without further ado, Dr. Pollard.
Well, I think that brings me to the kind of the end of my allotted time. So thank you, Gordon, and thank you, Leslie, for the kind introduction. It's my privilege to serve as the director of the Office of Behavioral Health, since we have the good fortune of being able to fund and support recovery-based programs, in addition to all of the treatment funding and the work that we do in collaboration with our colleagues at Maine Care Services, to make sure that people in need of treatment and people looking for recovery supports are going to find what they're looking for and find what they need. This work is incredibly important and meaningful. The recovery coach work and the recovery centers, giving people a place to go where they feel accepted, someone to talk to who understands what the person might be going through, and really meaningful work for people engaged in recovery coaching. And I should say, I often say in my introduction that one hat is director of Office of Behavioral Health, and as Gordon points out, mom to a toddler, but also family member to people in recovery and friend to people in recovery and who continue to struggle with substance use. And so this work is incredibly valuable professionally and personally. And it's hard to put a number on it, but I think it is important to communicate that Governor Mills and DHHS have really tried to put our money where our mouth is as far as valuing recovery services. And just to hit a couple of notes about that, we are currently investing about $4.7 million a year in recovery coach and recovery center supports. And that does not include the Maine Care funding. So we have some programs within Maine Care that include peer supports and recovery coach supports as part of the Maine Care reimbursements. Our opioid health homes are an example. But just looking at the recovery training and coordination and recovery centers, as well as some special projects such as our recovery coaches in emergency rooms, that is just shy of $5 million a year invested in recovery coach services, and it is absolutely money well spent. And the impact that we know these services have on Mainers who need those recovery supports is priceless. So as hundreds of coaches and trainings, but also the number of individuals served. I don't know that we can really put a number to that, from who walk into recovery centers to those who are supported at moments of crisis in the emergency department, and who get the added value, the added benefit of the coaching supports as part of their treatment programs. So I don't want to take up any more time, since these are really important talks on the agenda today and the other panelists, but I do appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to work with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pollard, so much. And thank you again for your leadership, and Gordon for yours. It's very inspiring and empowering. And as I said, we're really appreciative. I'm also just want to thank Bryn again for stepping in and stepping up and serving as the president of this board. It's really been a working board, and lots of hands-on going through policies and procedures, and really good process and discussion, and Bryn has led it beautifully. So thank you, Bryn. I'm so pleased to turn this over now to you, Justin, for the rest of the morning, or the next section, to tell us about the history and the process and what's next for people to register and become certified. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Leslie, for those kind words, and Gordon, Dr. Pollard. To the board, everybody that's here as a participant, you've all contributed to what's happening today, and for that I am certainly grateful. My name is Justin Reed, and I am the statewide recovery coach coordinator at the Maine Recovery Hub at PRCC. It is something I say proudly when I identify as a person in recovery, and for me that means I haven't had the urge to escape my inner feelings or external circumstances with drugs or alcohol since December of 2014. Recovery has allowed me to be present in my relationships with friends, family members, and in the community. And in the beginning, after establishing and being immersed in a program of recovery that worked for me, my awareness of other recovery pathways was minimal. That started to change after spending time at PRCC and participating in the Recovery Coach Academy. What I witnessed and continued to learn about was there are many pathways or combination of pathways that work for people in their recovery. How to provide recovery support for all people, regardless of personal bias or opinion, has been the cornerstone to build upon my own art of recovery coaching. The interaction with participants of the CCAR courses and within coaching relationships has helped broaden my recovery and continue to open my heart and mind, and maybe even helped others along the way. For that, I would like to thank you, and it is my hope that the information today helps your coaching journey. So to begin, just a housekeeping item. All the participants in this webinar format will have their cameras off, not be visible, and you will also be muted. We know there will be questions, and we would welcome your questions. And if you could please put them in the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. We are going to spend some time after this segment and do a live question and answer. And we certainly don't expect that we will be able to answer every question. So our intention is to collect those questions. We will formulate the responses for them, and we will send them out via email after this webinar concludes. Have those responses sent out to all participants by next week. So right into the fun stuff. Let's get into the content of today's presentation. So I'd like to begin with a little history of what led up to and the formation of the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board. So in 2018, the Portland Recovery Community Center was awarded funding by the state of Maine to serve as a coordinating body and develop recovery coaching and recovery community centers throughout the state of Maine. The Maine Recovery Hub at PRCC was founded. The Recovery Hub was tasked with the project of developing peer recovery coaching certification. With the help of Maine Health Access Foundation and the Addiction Technology Transfer Center, also known as ATTC at Brown University, a peer recovery coach certification work group was formed. The work consisted of members from across the state, and one of the tasks of the work group was to ensure that the certification would align with the International Certification and Reciprocity Consortium standards, also known as ICNRC. In early 2021, the Maine Peer Recovery Coach Board was formed and incorporated as a 501c6. The work group then presented the best practices for peer recovery coach certification to the board for their approval. A little bit of background on the curriculum that many of you are familiar with. Maine adopted the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery, CCAR, Recovery Coach Academy as the required curriculum. The coaching model is utilized in many states, including Maine. Recovery coaching has many great benefits, such as helping people get to where they want to be and reaching more individuals than some traditional pathways of recovery. Even with the best intentions in mind, there's potential to cause harm. Certification ensures that the practice of recovery coaching is being performed with integrity and consistency while meeting ethical standards. The mission of the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board is to standardize and promote best practice qualifications for peer recovery coaches in Maine by defining and maintaining the highest standards of professional practice and ethics across volunteer and employment capacities. The board's mission is achieved by ensuring the health and wellness of people of Maine through the delivery of quality peer recovery coaching services for those affected by substance use. The ongoing development and expansion of competent, professional, culturally diverse, and credentialed workforce prepared to address the needs of the people of Maine. Peer recovery coach services are delivered by registered and certified individuals. And registered and certified peer recovery coaches receive quality supervision. Continuation from the last slide. This is also achieved by the highest ethical standards are followed by all registered and certified peer recovery coaches in Maine. Ethical concerns are appropriately addressed, and those with ethical complaints have an opportunity to have their concerns reviewed in a prompt manner. Excellent training and continued education are available to meet the needs of all peer recovery coaches. Now you might ask, what is the importance of registration and certification? Registration and certification is a voluntary process by which individuals trained, practicing, and supervised as peer recovery coaches may receive recognition of demonstrated competency. Its purpose is to establish quality standards which enable the general public, behavioral health care professionals such as counselors, allied health professionals, health service providers, third-party payers, and employers to recognize qualified peer recovery coaches. Importance of certification. Certification is evidence that additional standards of knowledge, skill competencies, and experiences have been met, as well as a required number of supervised practice hours and continuing education, which we'll talk more about. What are the benefits of becoming registered or certified? Becoming registered or certified identifies peer recovery coaches who meet quality standards in their field. Registered and certified peer recovery coaches are recognized by professional affiliations, state and national legislation. Registered and certified coaches are provided with the opportunity for peer networking and board-sponsored educational opportunities. Increases professionalism in the field and provides a strong basis for employment, hiring, and professional advancement. Next, we'll look at the requirements to become a registered peer recovery coach, also known as an RPRC. One would need to provide proof of completion for the Recovery Coach Academy and ethical considerations for recovery coaches. Have an education of a high school diploma or jurisdictionally certified high school equivalency. Code of ethics, the applicant must sign an affirmation that the applicant has read and will abide by the Maine Peer Recovery Coach Code of Ethics. And last but not least, they would need to sign an attestation statement of personal recovery. The applicant must sign an affirmation that they qualify as a peer in recovery. And the renewal of a registered peer recovery coach is required every 2 years, and that would be met with 16 hours of CEU credit. So if we take a look at the requirements to become a certified peer recovery coach, also a CPRC, the requirements include everything that we had just previously looked at to become a registered coach, plus the certified coach needs to have 500 experience hours of volunteer or paid work experience coaching specific to the domains of advocacy, mentoring and education, and recovery, wellness support, and ethical responsibility. And they would also need to have completed 25 hours of supervision specific to the domains. Supervision must be provided by an organization's documented and qualified supervisory staff. Now we're going to take a look at what those things mean as far as experience hours and supervision. So an experience hour would be determined by the following. A recovery coaching session is defined as any interaction, typically 30 minutes or greater, between a coach and a recovery that includes the role, responsibilities, and functions of a recovery coach as defined by CCAR. And CCAR defines those roles as, and we learn a lot about the roles in the Recovery Coach Academy, of motivator and cheerleader, ally and confidant, truth teller, role model and motivator, problem solver, resource broker, advocate, community organizer, lifestyle consultant, friend, and companion. This slide says who may qualify as a coach advisor or someone that may provide supervision. An individual who has completed the CCAR Recovery Coach Academy and CCAR Coachervision is identified as an eligible coach advisor by the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board. So just like to add a note that anyone applying for the certified peer recovery coach credential will need to have participated in Coachervision, even those who qualify for providing Coachervision themselves. So we all need Coachervision support, regardless of our experience level. Coachervision may happen in a one-on-one or in a group setting. we're going to transition to the timeline of what's happening now and what's happening in the near future in regard to registration and certification. So currently, the application to become a registered peer recovery coach is online and available at the PRCC website under the Maine Recovery Hub tab and then coaching certification. And that is completed and submitted by email. What's upcoming is the launch of the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board website, and that is going live on December 22nd. That date is about a week prior to the Certified Peer Recovery Coach application going live. On the 1st of January 2022, both the Registered Peer Recovery Coach and Certified Peer Recovery Coach application will be available for electronic submission on the board's website. And we'll take a look at how the website looks and some more details about how one would go about submitting their applications in the slides to come. All right, so the website will be peerrecoverycoachme.org. And here are some of the things you will find on the website. So we have information, and that'll include where to find training opportunities for the Recovery Coach Academy, ethical considerations for recovery coaches, the different CCAR curriculums that are offered in Maine. It will include all the forms necessary and the manual for the certification board. You will have the applications, as mentioned, for the registered peer recovery coach and the certified peer recovery coach available and able to be submitted online. And you will also have the ability to verify someone's credentials as a registered or certified peer recovery coach. Now, in addition, what will be found on the website? The applications, as mentioned, for registered and certified coaches, the credential verification database, the manual for registered and certified recovery coaches, which includes the requirements, processes and procedure, fee schedule, etc. The Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board Code of Ethical Conduct, and this will also include the ethics complaint form and disciplinary procedures. Let's take a look at some of those items more in depth. So as of the 1st of January, you'll be able to complete the Registered Peer Recovery Coach application. It's a simplistic form, and one of the exciting additions is that you will be able to just add your certificates of completion for the Recovery Coach Academy and ethical considerations right into the online application. So you would either be able to take a picture and upload it on your phone, or you could scan it with your printer and upload it from a file on your computer. So it's very easy to access and work through, and should be a very low barrier application process. And the Certified Peer Recovery Coach application will be as easy to upload your certificates of completion to. The difference will be that on the application for the Certified Peer Recovery Coach, you will need to demonstrate that you have those hours of experience regarding education. So the training requirements listed on this page, which are 10 hours in advocacy, 10 hours in mentoring and education, and 10 hours in recovery and wellness support, those are all met through completion of the Recovery Coach Academy. And then the 16 hours of ethical responsibility required for the certification is met through CCAR ethical considerations for recovery coaches. On this page of the certification application, you will also be asked to provide your experience hours. So that may be 500 hours with one agency or organization, or you may have split that up between a recovery community organization and your place of employment, and have numerous forms that include the experience hours. And the same could be said for the total hours of supervision. So you're looking for 25 hours of supervision, and your supervisor would sign off on this form, and then you will upload it to the online application. So you might be wondering, how much does this whole process cost? The application for certification costs $125 and would come with a $75 renewal fee every 2 years. The application to become a registered peer recovery coach will be $50, and the recertification will be $50 every 2 years, unless one chose to become certified. The exciting part about this is that all of the fees for becoming a certified or registered peer recovery coach will be waived for 1 year from the application opening for the certified peer recovery coach. So up until January 1st of 2023, you can become registered or certified at no cost. This will hopefully be an incentive for individuals to become registered or certified, continue working on their hours to become certified before these costs are effective. Okay, so another piece on the website would be verifying credentials, and this is very handy for those looking to become employed, or for those employing recovery coaches. It's a simplistic search feature in which somebody could type in the first or last name of a coach, or if they happen to know their certification number, and hit submit. And then it will show a list of all coaches with that first or last name, and show you whether they have a registered peer recovery coach or certified peer recovery coach credential. It will also tell you when somebody became registered or certified and when they would need to recertify. It would also tell you if somebody's credential has been suspended or revoked, and that may happen through an ethical complaint procedure or grievance that has been submitted, and we'll look more at that in a moment. So all right, so ethics. The ethics complaint form will be available on the website, and it will ask who is filing the complaint, the coach or the applicant who the complaint is being registered against, and the nature of the complaint. That would be submitted online, and then it would be received and reviewed by the board to determine if the allegation constitutes an ethics violation. If it is determined that an ethics violation may have occurred, it will then move to an investigative process by the board's ethics committee, which includes testimony from all of the involved parties. And then if a finding of guilt is determined, sanctions may include any action up to and including the permanent revocation or loss of the MRCCB credential. So the code of ethical conduct and the disciplinary procedures will be found in their entirety on the website. This is just also a reminder that ethics are really important, and we're going to take an in-depth look at that more today. So for resources, the website will include where individuals may find training opportunities required to become a registered or certified peer recovery coach. And the two primary training providers in Maine are currently PRCC and Healthy Acadia. It will also have information, suggestions on where one may go to find continuing education or CEU providers accepted by the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board. So if you have any questions prior to the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board website becoming available, please feel free to contact me at justin@portlandrecovery.org. So now what we're going to do is move to a question and answer section, and we will do this live, and we will answer as many questions as we can in about the next 20 minutes or so. And anything we do not answer, we will make sure to respond to via email and also make that available on our website. So Nicole, what do we have for some questions?
Yeah, thank you for all that information, Justin. It's a lot of information packed into a short presentation. So before we jump into all of the questions that are rolling in, I just want to invite anybody that might still have a question, just please drop it in the Q&A, and we're going to go through as many as we can, like Justin said. And anything that we are not able to get to, we will answer by email. When we send out the recording and the slides, we'll also send out the questions and answers. So I thought maybe we would just start off by doing a quick highlight of the key dates, because there's a lot of things coming up, right? And I think one person even asked in the questions about registration, but can you just tell us again real quick, if somebody wants to register today, so if a coach is not current, if they meet all the requirements and have not become registered, what is the process to register today, and how would they do that?
Yes, I can definitely explain that. Maybe we can have the link posted as to where one may go to find this application. But what you would do is go to portlandrecovery.org, the PRCC website, and then at the top of that page, there is a Maine Recovery Hub tab. And under the Maine Recovery Hub tab, you will find a section titled Recovery Coach Certification. In that section, you'll find an application, couple page application that you fill out, and you would email that application and your certificate of completion for both the RCA and ethics to sandy@portlandrecovery.org, which is also a lot of information, but all of these steps are listed on the website in the link that we'll put in the chat for everyone.
Perfect. And so the next key date that I think is really important that was embedded in your presentation is, when does that website become live where everything will actually be digital? Because right now that process that you explain for registration is actually printing off the form, scanning in your application. It is all manual. So what is the date that switches to an online fillable form on the new website, and what is the new website, if you could share that again?
Okay, so both the registered and certified peer recovery coach applications will be available for online submission on the board's website on January 1st. And the website, I can share that again, just give me one moment. And feel free to fire another question at me and I will answer that as I'm pulling up the slide.
Okay, perfect. Let me organize myself here. I'm looking at chat and Q&A. So just as a reminder, if you have a question, put it in the Q&A and not the chat, please, because it'll be easier if they're all in one place. Will we provide a copy of these slides? Yes, they will be sent out by email to anybody that's registered for the webinar. Can we provide the website address again? Yes, Maine, it's www.peerrecoverycoachme.org.
And we will make
Just-
sure to include this in the email that goes out to all participants. And we can include the link to where someone would currently find the application to become a registered coach.
And then we have a question, Justin. So to become registered, one requirement was to qualify as a peer in recovery. Does this mean that only people in recovery can become registered?
So it is a registration and certification for peer recovery coaches. I think most commonly we think of recovery as strictly substance use disorder, but also keeping in mind there are many things that people are in recovery or can be in recovery for that we also support at places like PRCC and recovery community organizations. That could be gambling or food or codependency. So if someone feels like they can sign that attestation statement honestly, then I'm not here to tell somebody they are or are not in recovery.
Great, thanks. And oh, this is a good question. So if somebody has already, do we need to fill out the online form when it becomes available if they've already submitted the paper form? So if somebody's already a registered coach today and has gone through the manual process that's been available for a couple of months now, do they need to resubmit for registered status when it becomes digital?
That's a great question. And no, you will not need to submit a second application. Anybody that has already become a registered peer recovery coach, your information will be migrated and uploaded into the database, the searchable database that we looked at, and you're all set. You will just need to recertify when 2 years comes around.
And when that new website launches in December, where you can verify credentials, I would absolutely invite anybody who has gone through the registration process to go ahead and just search your name and make sure that it is a brand new system. So we just want to, make sure, and we're doing, we've checked all of ourselves. We're all showing up. So if you have done the full registration process and you search your own credential and it does not come up that you're a registered coach, please let us know as soon as possible. But we don't anticipate that happening. It's brand new. So just test it out. Okay, so everybody is asking, do we need to re-register again? So bear with me, I'm just gonna kind of go through these questions.
I do see a quick question I can answer on the spot from the chat box. Says, how do we access the link to search for credentials? That will be available as soon as the board's website goes live on December 22nd.
Perfect. Can you give an example of a training that would count as a CEU?
Some real easy ones to throw out there would be recovery coaching in the emergency department. Coachervision could be counted as CU. They have professionalism and recovery coaching. Those are all just offerings that CCAR provides. So those are pretty quick to come to mind, but also other organizations will be presented on the website where you can go to find CEU credits for renewals.
Great. Okay. So I don't know if you have your training calendar up, Justin, but somebody wants to know, when is the next Coachervision class available? But you may be able to just point people to where the schedule is.
So Healthy Acadia and PRCC both offer Coachervision. I can say that the next available Coachervision option for PRCC would be February 2nd and 3rd of 2022. It's currently available for registration also on the PRCC website, and we can provide that information in the email we send out as well, where to register for classes. And then maybe somebody could provide in the chat the Healthy Acadia link where somebody could go to look for class registration. Possible.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just going through these questions to make sure we um Amanda has a question about where recovery coaches fall into the direct access worker matrix for employment. And I don't think we have a great answer for that right now, but we will certainly answer it by email. If we have Coachervision and have provided Coachervision over the last few years, who would be my supervisor to sign off on supervisor hours? Do you want me to read that again?
Yeah, I'm a little unclear on the question. So
Me too. So we might have to, I think somebody's asking if they provide Coachervision over the last couple of years, who would their supervisor be to sign off on supervisor hours? I think, if I'm interpreting, yep, he said, yep, that's correct.
okay, so a supervisor or somebody that is providing Coachervision and has been trained as a Coachervisor, they may have somebody that is their supervisor at the organization that is able to provide either group, or maybe a coach advisor will be participating in one-on-one coach revision with either a colleague that's been through the coach revision process or their direct supervisor. So I can't speak specifically to the organization, but they would need to have someone that is a peer coach advisor that they are accountable to, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you. Does the CCAR certificate expire? Actually, it says, does the CCAR certification expire? So maybe the first part of that question is, can you explain the difference between the CCAR certificate and certification? So that's a question that comes up a lot. If somebody's completed CCAR RCA and they've gotten their certificate, believing that that's a certification. So can you address that piece first?
Yeah, certainly. So any CCAR class that someone completes, you will receive a certificate of completion that includes CEU hours. So if I complete the Recovery Coach Academy, I will then hold a certificate of completion for the Recovery Coach Academy and have the 30 CEU credits attached to that. However, that does not mean I am a certified recovery coach, and that is what we're talking about today. Many states, not all states, have a certification board for peer recovery coaches or a similar term and role, and that is what we're talking about here today for what the requirements are to become a certified recovery coach, peer recovery coach in the state of Maine, versus have the paper certificate of completion from taking the class.
Perfect. And so the second piece of that question was that this person took their RCA in 2018. They completed their CCAR RCA and received certificate, and wanted to make sure that they didn't qualify for recertification already. So
yes, okay, yes. The second part about expirations, the CCAR certificate of completion from taking the class does not expire. There's no need to renew that or take the class again. Once you become certified or registered by the board, that is the piece that you would need to renew every 2 years. Submit the renewal application, pay the fee, and also provide the proof that you've received continuing education.
great. Okay, so someone is asking, can you please go over the board requirements for a supervisor to sign off on coaching hours again?
Currently, the board's requirements are that somebody will have completed the Recovery Coach Academy and CCAR Coachervision courses, 2 courses.
Okay, hold on. Can you talk, I have a question here that says, what, can you go over the differences again between registered and certified?
Sure thing. So a registered peer recovery coach will need to have completed the Recovery Coach Academy and ethical considerations for recovery coaches. They'll need to have a high school diploma or GED. They will need to sign off on the peer recovery coach code of ethics, that they will agree to follow the code of ethics, and also sign the personal attestation statement of recovery. So, but the educational pieces, the big pieces are those 2 courses, the Recovery Coach Academy and Ethics. And then when you move up to the level or tier 2 of being certified, then that would include 500 experience hours of practicing recovery coaching in the field and 25 hours of supervision or coachervision.
Perfect. So that actually goes into the next question that has been posted. So somebody would not apply for certification until the 500 hours have been met. Is that correct? That also, I would add on to that, and has received 25 hours of supervision.
Correct. If someone had not yet achieved 500 hours of experience coaching in the field and 25 hours of supervision, the application would be incomplete and not accepted. So you could not submit an application with, say, 200 experience hours and then just update that later once you have 500. It needs to all be completed upon submission to be accepted.
Great. And then another question around the 500 hours is somebody's asking, are there additional ways to earn hours toward your 500 hours of recovery coaching? So I think that that speaks to what is considered, I can't remember what we called it, coaching, what is relevant. It was in your presentation, and what the board would define a coaching hour to be. So perhaps you could just touch on that again.
Yeah, I think probably that would be most helpful if I pulled up the relevant slide. Again, just to touch on that, I might have went through it quickly. Go. So it says a recovery coaching session is defined as any interaction, typically 30 minutes or greater, between a coach and a recovery that includes the role, responsibilities, and function of a recovery coach as defined by CCAR. And that would be using the roles listed at the bottom there of what recovery coaches do and what their roles include. So I would say the short answer would probably be it would need to meet these guidelines to be accepted as a coaching hour. And I don't really know what the alternatives could be or what the person posing the question had in mind, but it would need to meet this definition.
Great. This would be an easy one. Can you explain the difference in coaching between as a registered or a certified coach?
The difference in coaching as registered or certified? So I would say what it comes down to is experience. Your coaching is not going to be performed any differently, but it is looking at experience. If I am looking to employ recovery coaches and I have a certified coach and a registered coach in front of me, the registered coach I know has taken the courses has the knowledge of what recovery coach is. But then if I have a certified coach as well, I know that they have that knowledge and they have that experience and that practice, and they develop their art of recovery coaching, and developed their recovery coaching through supervision participation. So it gives you that extra level of experience and practice.
Okay. Okay, so this one says specific to, does PRCC keep track of coach revision hours? But I would stretch that to say, does my organization that I coach for, any organization, keep track of my coach revision hours for me?
Okay, so I would say that as far as the recovery coach academies that PRCC has sponsored, we always suggest that the coach keeps track of their own coaching interactions or experience hours and the hours they've participated in supervision. So your organization may keep track of the hours you have participated in supervision or coaching experience hours, but I would not count on that. And I would always keep a log of your own hours. And whether they do or don't, then when you go to have your hours signed off on by supervisor or organization, you also have backup to demonstrate the time you've served.
Great. All right, we have a ton more questions, but we're out of time. So we will continue to answer those questions offline and get all of the questions that have been answered and the ones that haven't out by email. And I would say we're actually 2 minutes over. So maybe we want to do a 13-minute break instead of a 15-minute break to keep us on track.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
All right. So yeah.
While you're pulling up the time, we're going to put a timer on the screen. We're going to take a short break before we come back for the next two pieces of today's webinar, which is an interactive piece with Healthy Acadia on ethics and coach revision, as well as a compassion fatigue webinar with Love Yourself. So Justin's going to pull up a 15-minute timer when we come back, or 13-minute timer. When we come back, you will be joined by Terry Woodruff and Denise Black from Healthy Acadia. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you for all the questions. I'll put the timer up now, but feel free to take a 15-minute break.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back from break. And glad you're all here with us this morning to dive into ethical considerations and recovery coaching. My name is Denise Black, and I work with Healthy Acadia and serve as the co-director of the Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching.
And I'm Terry Woodruff, also co-director for Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching with Healthy Acadia. Good morning.
So first, we would like to thank the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board and Portland Recovery Community Center for all of their efforts, making registration and credentialing available to those interested, and of course, for asking us to be part of this presentation today. Thank you so much. We would also like to thank the Office of Governor Janet Mills and the Office of Behavioral Health for their vision, their support and commitment to the expansion of recovery coaching and recovery supports for all people that strive to live a substance-free life. Thank you so much. So for those of you that know us, that have trained with us, or maybe you don't know us, we would like to do a little bit of a deeper introduction of ourselves, CCAR style, Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery. And so, as usual, I'm going to turn it over to Terry.
So thank you. And as I mentioned, my name is Terry Woodruff, and I'm with Healthy Acadia. And just a little bit more about me, taking that deeper dive. I live just outside of Machias in Washington County. I have done prevention work for 20 plus years, and then had the opportunity back in 2016 to travel down to Connecticut to take the Recovery Coach Academy with Denise. And I can truly say it has totally changed my my focus and my passion for this work. It was a wonderful journey, and we have continued on that journey together. And so I refer to myself as an affected other or a recovery ally, meaning that I either have family members or friends that are in active use or are in recovery. And so part of that is my motivation for kind of being here and continuing and doing this great work, providing hope for those that I have engaged with, either in the correction setting or in the community. And then also having the opportunity to train the multiple training CCAR curriculums across the state to many of you that I recognize names on this webinar. And yeah, so we've been a great privilege to begin to build the recovery supports over the past 5 years.
Thank you, Terry. And I am Denise, and I identify myself as a person in long-term recovery. I am a recovery ally, and I am also an affected author. And Terry and I are authorized trainers of most of the CCAR curriculum, and we have been trainers since 2016. We're actually celebrating a 5-year anniversary this year, which we're really excited about. 5 years of training, CCAR trainings, and learning from all of you awesome people out in Maine. It's just been such a fantastic experience. We've conducted 63 CCAR trainings and trained 762 participants. So we know some of you are out there today. And so hello to you all. And we also look forward to meeting new people at our trainings. My motivation for this work is very deep. Recovery is really the heart and soul of who I am, you know, and as Terry mentioned, I too was also involved in prevention work for many years. And something came across my desk one day about recovery coaching, and I was immediately riveted. The next thing, we were in my car headed to Connecticut, and it's been an amazing, awesome journey. Such a privilege to do this work. And, you know, we are part of a movement in Maine. We are all part of this movement, this recovery movement. And it's just been amazing to watch it unfold, and the dedication and the support from everyone involved to make this happen. So it's really, really exciting. And we're so glad we're all today. So thank you. And that's a little bit more about me. Oh, and I'm streaming live from beautiful Blue Hill, Maine this morning. So, all righty. So Terry and I will do our best to monitor the box, the Q&A box. As always, make yourself comfortable as we launch into this presentation. And I'd like to thank Allie in advance. She's going to help us with our slides, moving them forward, and with some polls that we're going to be doing. All right. Okay, so now that you know a little bit more about us, we would really appreciate learning a little bit more about you in the audience. So if we could switch it to the next slide, Allie, we're going to start off with a little poll. There we go. And you'll see the questions as they're in the box. Awesome. I think I can't see the questions. Can you see 4 questions on there, Terry? Great. I'm assuming the results are coming in. I can't see on the other side of it, assuming the poll results are coming in, and we will share those with you when we can see them. Here we go. 38% of you, that's awesome, are registered. Thinking about it, 15%. 83% of you want to be certified Maine recovery coaches. That's awesome. And 60% of you have trained with us. Yay, awesome. Hello to everyone out there. Great. Excellent. Good information. Okay. All righty, let's move it to slide 3, ethical considerations. So, as we know from our learned experience from coaching, ethical considerations will come up, sometimes quicker than we can imagine. So let's explore this a bit more. Ethical considerations can crop up in a number of areas related to the delivery of peer-based recovery support services, 1 through 5, right? Through service context, personal conduct of the recovery coach, conduct and service relationships, conduct and relationships with other service providers, and conduct and relationships with local recovery communities. Webster's definition of ethics, as we talk about in the ethical considerations for recovery coach training, the discipline of dealing with what is good and bad with moral duty and obligation, and more when it comes to the art of recovery coaching. Just want to take a look at the Q&A. Oh, Angela says her poll answers didn't go through. Angela, hopefully they will on the next one, because we're going to be doing more polls. All right, let's move it to the next slide. Uh-oh. There we go. All righty, so as you can see on the slide, here's the poll question. Have any of you experienced an ethical consideration while being a recovery coach? And some examples could include, and more, right, to borrow, and someone asking you to borrow money for minutes on a cell phone or gas for their vehicle, and more. Well, let's take a look at that. (56% of report that you have had an ethical consideration, and no 44%. Interesting. Thank you. Alrighty, let's jump into how we can reduce ethical considerations. Next slide, please. Sorry, forgot to say that. So 3 categories: become a registered and or certified Maine peer recovery coach, become a recovery coach within an existing coaching system, and to attend the CCAR Recovery Coach Academy, ethical considerations for recovery coaches, and Coachervision trainings. Okay. So as Justin talked about earlier, and we will talk about this a little bit more in the presentation, the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board does have their own code of ethics. If you did become registered, you have signed the code of ethics, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But let's talk a little bit about the CCAR definition of a code of ethics, which is really a guide of principles designed to help professionals conduct business honestly and with integrity. So the code of ethics document may outline the mission and values of an organization. It may demonstrate how professionals are supposed to approach problems. It will show the ethical principles based on the organization's core values, their culture and standards to which the professional will be held. And Justin did talk a little bit about that earlier. And recovery coaching, as it says there, professional coaching jobs continue to expand in Maine. So recovery coaching is growing as a profession in Maine due to its effectiveness in not only helping people find recovery, but to also stay in recovery. Okay. Some of the benefits of becoming a recovery coach within an existing system. Offering structure and support, Coachervision and ongoing education, additional CCAR trainings, and the ethics refresher course. So again, as recovery coaching continues to become professionalized in Maine, being part of a recovery coaching system can help to advance your volunteer or professional coaching journey. Being part of a high quality system that includes coordination, structure, ongoing education, Coachervision, and a community of peer coaches that will support you are all very important factors in reducing ethical considerations, and will also support you as you explore and develop your art of recovery coaching. And down at the bottom, we talk about training a little bit. Critical that recovery coaching continues. It is critical that recovery coaches and supervisors have an understanding of the specialized role of a recovery coach. And we can share, and I'm sure in the follow-up email, we can share training schedules, PRCC's training schedule and our training schedule for those of you that are interested in getting registered for an upcoming training. And as far as the system, you know, recovery coaching is also expanding and becoming integrated into a variety of systems. Ongoing education and appropriate support for coaches will continue to become more important. All righty, let me check the box here. Mike, is there any trainings or suggestions for an organization on how to best implement a coach into their programs? That's a great question. And we do talk about some of that at the trainings, at some of the trainings that we do. Conversation comes up. So yeah, we can. Okay, let me just look over here. All righty. Let's take another poll. Have you taken the CCAR ethics training? Yes, 46%. Oh, 54%. Thank you. So let's start with a quote from CCAR regarding ethics and training. Ethics trainings are not all created equal. Recovery coaches and those that supervise them need an understanding of ethics that differs from those of clinicians due to their unique role while guiding someone through their own recovery process. Okay. CCAR ethics training has been designed to help coaches and anyone else working in the peer role to understand how critical it is to be ethically responsible. And of course, on the slide, you will see some of what you will learn in an ethics course and more. So the training really utilizes presentations, small group work, and role play to address many areas that's listed on the slide, but also will add defining the recovery coaching role, staying in your lane, ethical assumptions, friend versus coach, core recovery values and ethical conduct, boundary management, ethical decision-making, legal issues, and more. This is the thing about these trainings. And for those of you that have experienced the training, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These trainings are more than just skill building and content. It's about the people that attend. It's about their passion for helping others and their lived and coaching experience that brings the course content to life. This is where the real learning and transformation happens. Thank you for your participation. And I am now going to turn it over to Terry, who's going to take us into Coachervision.
All right, thanks, Denise. So language matters, and we talk a lot about this in a broad meaning across all of our trainings, but specifically to Coachervision, due to this being a peer-to-peer nature of work, we try to stay away from using the term supervision and supervisor for recovery coaches. And when we look at a model that CCAR developed, when we talk about Coachervision, they basically took, they created this model which they thought was a better fit for recovery coaches. And they took the two terms, recovery coaching and supervision, and they kind of infused them together. And that is kind of where they came up with that term of Coachervision. So providing Coachervision, and the folks that would be providing that Coachervision, they refer to them as Coachervisors. So they would have a better understanding of what the role of a recovery coach is. So we're going to take a little bit of deeper dive into what is Coachervision. Go ahead and put a poll up. Here we go. And looking at those results, awesome. So folks are being offered to participate in regular coach support meetings. So 88% and 12% no. So hopefully after this presentation, we can hopefully get you some more information around that. And then some are getting it every 2 weeks, once per month, or anytime that you need it. So that's awesome. Glad to see that folks are beginning to get some of that Coachervision or support for you. So if you could move to the next slide. So what is Coachervision? So again, it's a model or oversight that resonates most with the role of a recovery coach, aptly named Coachervision. And this comes from CCAR, based on that concept of coaches coaching coaches. So understanding of how to best support coaches day to day and develop coaches for long-term success. And it kind of depends on the situation. Looking at Coachervision can be held monthly, weekly, or on an as-needed basis. So you may find that you attend a regular monthly Coachervision, but you also may find that you need Coachervision just today. There might be a certain situation that comes up, and we'll talk a little bit more about those ethical situations or support that you might need as that coach. So as we know, recovery coaches, they're coaching in a wide variety of settings and such, and being maybe supervised by a wide range of positions. So looking at the importance of the person that is overseeing that coach and that they fully understand the unique nature of the role of that recovery coach. So if the recovery coach role is not clearly understood, that could lead to role confusion for the coach. Potentially, they may be assigned to specific tasks that are what we refer to outside their lane or not part of their role. And it could also lead to those ethical considerations and concerns. So for either the coach, the organization, or the system that that particular person is coaching in. So it's really critical for the coach or advisor to have a clear understanding of the unique role of the recovery coach so that they can provide that appropriate Coachervision support within those variety of settings. And again, will help reduce those ethical considerations and any harm that could come to either the recovery or to the coach. So I am going to have Allie put up a short video, and this is from CCAR. So we're going to watch the short video. This is specific to their emergency department. However, this Coachervision model fits within all systems that folks will be coaching in.
Coachervision was born out of the needs of this program. When this program started, we recognized we had coaches working on the front lines and they needed some support. The benefits of Coachervision from my perspective as the supervisor are that I get FaceTime with my team members weekly, that I have my finger on the pulse of how they're doing. So one of my responsibilities on my job description is boundary management. And what does that mean? It means that I am watching for the pre-signs of compassion fatigue. And those are well known, the signs of compassion fatigue. And we want to support our team in staying healthy. So asking them weekly, do you have everything you need? I'm setting them up for success. And obviously the success of that coach in the role of emergency department recovery coach means that CCAR is going to be successful, but ultimately it means that a whole bunch of people seeking recovery are going to be successful, and that's what really matters for us.
The benefits of Coachervision to me would be feedback and support. Support as in if I need anything as far as like in the status of my department. So at the time when I was a EDRC, there's things that I really couldn't handle. It was out of my lane. So bringing it back to my supervisor and asking for help, and my supervisor asking me what she can help me with, or how can she support me with it. It was real beneficial.
Sometimes a coach needs a coach. CCAR starts off with telling you how much gratitude they have for you for doing the job. They make sure that the focus is on you in Coachervision. It talks about you. That's what you call a check-in to make sure that everything is going all right. They want to make sure that you have the tools and the necessities for you to do the job, and basically how you are feeling yourself. Are you able to do the job? What's your feelings on the job? Has anything bothered you on the job? You know, it's basically just a check-in to make sure that you're doing okay.
So CCAR hired all these emergency department recovery coaches. The next phase was, how do we supervise them? So our manager, Jennifer Chudukowicz, started to provide performance support to these coaches. All of a sudden, she said she was coachervising them. I said, what is coachervising? She says, it's Coachervision. It's like a combination of coaching and supervision. Immediately, I was a fan. I like that term, and I like the process.
One of the things that has always been so easy about Coachervision is that at CCAR, we are coaches. We're coaches first, and personally, not just professionally. And our leadership supports the coaching model. And so what the coaching model couldn't be any more appropriate for somebody that's doing coaching professionally for their job. Why wouldn't we support them with a coaching model, because we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We believe in coaching at CCAR, and we have found that the coaching model for a supervision model works best.
At CCAR, when we develop a training, we often come up with a concept and put it into immediate action. Coachervision is different. We have years of experience of providing the service, and we want to share that experience with you.
Awesome. So I really love that video. I think it speaks to every aspect. Obviously, CCAR, it's their model that they developed, but it talks to every little piece around the recovery coach, the supervisor or coachervisor, and the importance of all of those and how those kind of come together within that system. So supporting the coach and this coach supporting the recovery, right? So we talk a lot about, especially in the Recovery Coach Academy, that you need to be able to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. And this kind of ties into that piece as well. So this next slide, what are some of the things that you're going to learn within the Coachervision course? It's based on, again, the concept of coaches, and we'll provide those that attend with an understanding of how to best support coaches day to day and develop coaches for long-term success. And you did hear in that video, they were talking about their coaches. That's what they do, CCAR does, and that's what we do. We are all coaches and being able to provide that support. So a coachervisor, and this is going to sound familiar for many of you, they're going to ask really good questions. One of the favorite ones might be, how can I help you with your recovery coaching practice today? They actively listen, they manage their own stuff, and coachervisors treat the recovery coach as the best resource on their work. And we trust those coaches until they give us a reason not to. And I think that, again, is where you begin to see some of those ethical considerations and things that might come up. And that is truly where that coachervisor will help with that. So some of those aspects, as I was saying, sounds very familiar. You might recognize those from the Recovery Coach Academy. But what about the supervision role? So again, we're talking about coaching and then supervision and combining those together into that Coachervision. So there are times when performance falters and there does need to have some type of an improvement. And again, that's where that coachervisor will provide that support to that coach. And so the coachervisor coaches through that. And they are truth tellers, which is another role of a recovery coach. And they convey the truth without blame or judgment, which isn't always easy to do. But it's possible to be firm and kind at the same time. And we want the recovery coaches to develop general relationships with our recoverees. So this same piece applies to the coachervisor and the recovery coach. So it's okay to care. We want that coachervisor to be able to understand the role of the coach so they can help best support that coach in their role of supporting their recoveries. All right, so we're going to dive a little bit back into what Denise was talking about, and Justin mentioned this in the beginning and talking about the Maine Certification Board Code of Ethics. So we're going to throw up another quick poll and see. All right, and here are our answers. So yes, folks have a copy. That's great. 58%. Love to see that. Do you review it every week? 13%. Kudos to all those that review it every week. That's awesome. But again, reviewing it at least once a year is also a good piece as well. And then the last one, I got to roll this up. Have you shared that code of ethics with your supervisor? So again, making sure that that supervisor has the understanding of what the code of ethics is. And you did sign that. So making sure that you understand what it is that you've signed in looking at that code of ethics. So thank you all for taking that poll. So this is where the accountability comes into play, and ethics and Coachervision, how they're tied together, that coaches can be supported in appropriate ways, encouraging them to stay in their lane as recovery coaches, and encouraged to bring ethical considerations to their coach advisor and Coachervision sooner rather than later. So any ethical violation can be met by an investigation in addition to strict consequences. And a lot of that is outlined in the board or in the registration packet. And once the certification comes through, more information will be coming in around that. And Justin spoke about that a little bit earlier. But it's good practice to know and understand the code of ethics and to visit them frequently so that you have a good understanding. You and your coach advisor have that understanding of your role as well as the role of the code of ethics as well. Any piece you want to share, Denise, along those lines and bringing that together?
Yeah, ultimately it all ties together, doesn't it? Really does. And this is the part we'd love to open it up for a big discussion, but we can't today. We will another time, that's for sure.
But if there are questions that folks have, you can put those in the Q&A and ask additional questions around anything around ethics, ethical considerations, or Coachervision, and how those two come together.
You know, I would just like to say, I want to thank everybody out there for your commitment to serving others that are seeking or want to sustain their recovery, or affected family members. This is so important, and your efforts are making a difference. And having recovery coaching become professionalized in Maine is just such an exciting step in the direction of it as part of, you know, the recovery movement across the state. It's just really exciting. And so it was really good to see the poll numbers, how many of you wanted, you know, and have plans on becoming certified. It's really, really exciting. So thank you for all that you do, because all of you are the heart and soul of this work. Thank you. I'm not seeing any questions right now. I'm not seeing any questions right here, but I'm just checking.
Yeah, there's one in the box. I have a very specific question I would like to be able to discuss with the board if emailing is possible. And I would say, absolutely. Justin is responding to that now.
All righty.
All right. I guess we will move on to our next section that they have be coming up.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for participating.
Hi. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I am Sarah Kelly, and I am with Love Yourself. I would love to first start out thanking the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board and PRCC for having us here today. This is all really exciting to see what's happening in the state of Maine with recovery coaching. Also, thanks to Healthy Acadia for that presentation on ethics. That was lovely. we're going to talk about compassion fatigue today. First, a little introduction of myself for those who don't know me. I'm Sarah Kelly. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach. I am a registered Maine recovery coach. I'm also a Recovery Coach Academy trainer and have had the beautiful opportunity to train through PRCC, both the RCA and ethics. So I also see some familiar names, and it's great to be on here again and know your faces behind those names. I also identify as a person in long-term recovery, and that means to me that I've been able to show up for my work, my passions, my friends, my family, and life, and feel all of my feelings, no matter what they are, at any given time. I've had a career in communications and public affairs, mostly in the military mental health sector, but also in women's rights and advocacy for healthcare. And at some point, I had this switch with the desire to work more hands-on with people. I felt the stress of being in those roles that are demanding and high intensity, and started to see the value in really what happens when we do self-care. So in addition to coaching, I'm co-owner of Love Yourself. My other co-owner, unfortunately, Sarah Wilkinson, could not be here today as she has a family emergency, but she sends her love. And we really founded this organization on how can we help others to empower themselves, to take care of themselves, to find that inner love. So with that, I will get started and pull up these slides. Slide share. Sorry, everyone, it's stuck for a second. Just get slideshow. There we go. So this will all be on overcoming compassion fatigue. One more slide, just the mission of Love Yourself is to make the journey of self-love and healing and growth accessible to all people. We believe that collective healing begins when we love ourselves. Empathy and compassion cannot be felt for others until you can feel it for yourself. Self-love is not selfish, it is the root of loving one another. Believe that this mission aligns so closely with those in the recovery community and our empathy and compassion we have for one another, and helping and getting out there and really promoting that collective community response of love. Compassion fatigue may be a term you've heard. You just heard it in the video from CCAR. And the exact definitions, if we look at the medical definition, it's the physical and mental exhaustion and emotional withdrawal experienced by those who care for sick or traumatized people over an extended period of time. It's an apathy or indifference towards the suffering of others as the result of overexposure to tragic news stories and images and the subsequent appeals for assistance. You may have also heard this term as burnout. That's much more common. Secondary trauma, vicarious traumatization. It's even been known as the cost of caring, put that in quotes, that there's this almost expectation that you are going to give a piece of yourself in exchange for helping others. And while that is true, we really want to look at how can you give yourself but keep your cup full? How can you give yourself in a way that is not depleting you, but rather energizing you, right? And so some of the symptoms that you may see with compassion fatigue are depression, a loss of productivity. So if you find yourself suddenly like very distracted, looking at other things online instead of working, intrusive thoughts, tiredness or being on edge, a little edgier than normal, responding in a snappy way. And then one that I think is so interesting in the recovery community, and how to balance this. It's one of the symptoms can be the inability to separate your personal and professional life. So how do we approach that in the recovery community when so much of our professional life is our personal life? You know, like recovery coaching, we say peer recovery coaching because we're in it. We're also in recovery. So looking at that separation of, am I bringing home too much of the pain? Am I unable to feel the joy with my family or be present because I'm bringing that load home? You know, if that makes sense. So we don't necessarily ever have a complete separation, but I would look at it more as when you're in your home life, where is that? How is work affecting your life outside? Those are some of the symptoms. We all know at this point that this exists. The burnout's real. This feeling of overwhelmingness is real. So if you're feeling it, you're not alone. And we've got the double whammy right now of the opioid epidemic continuing and escalating. So we're seeing the highest number of overdoses yet this year, and we're not even done with the year. And we've been in this since, if you look back, over 20 years that this really started, and over a decade of it spiraling out of control. That is a long time to consistently see the numbers continue to rise. And with this, it's not just numbers rising, it's our peers, it's our loved ones, it's the people that you've seen come through the doors, that you've worked with, that you've been friends with. So it's a very personal heart piece, you know? You add COVID on top of that, and we're in a global pandemic, and the isolation that that brings with the isolation of addiction and substance use disorder in general. And you've got a lot. So people are feeling this. People are feeling this fatigue. I'd almost go out on a limb to say I'd be surprised if you're not feeling compassion fatigue at all. That Evan has at least a little ounce of it in us right now because it's just so extreme. Compassion is not the relationship between the healer and the wounded. It is a relationship between equals. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. It's a quote by Pema Chodron. And right, peer recovery coaching, the healer and the wounded. We are no better or no worse than the other person. We are meeting someone where they are at. We are often meeting them through our own healing, our own work. And that compassion that comes in the recognized shared humanity. We have been on the same path. We have experienced similar things. Now, how do we reflect that compassion like a mirror back to ourselves? Because it can be in the caregiving role, and a caregiving role could be a peer recovery coach in this circumstance, but it could also be a caretaker at home. It could be a nurse. There are so many caretaking roles. So really putting that in, and you could have several different caretaking roles that you have at home and work and are wearing different hats. So that compassion for others comes out relatively easy if you're a person who is seeking caregiving roles. You're drawn to this, your heart is drawn to it. But the compassion for ourselves, where does that come in? Where do we recognize our own humanity and the singleness, right? So with that, we're gonna have a little reflection. Typically we do this as a discussion, but I'm gonna suggest if you have a pen and paper handy, just taking a few minutes to jot down your thoughts of how have you seen compassion fatigue impact you? This could be personal again at home, taking care of an elderly parent or little kids, or how it's reflected at work in your coworkers if you don't want to go on a personal, like where have you seen or experienced? And how do you know when you're feeling burnt out? So grab a pen and paper and just jot down a few of your own thoughts. Okay, so if you've had a few minutes to do that, start to recognize those symptoms within yourself and see what has come in your own life. So we're going to talk about, this is the Wheel of Health by Vanderbilt University Medical Center. If you've taken Recovery Coach Academy, which we saw there's a fair amount of people here who have, you may notice that this is similar to the 7 dementias of wellness and how you develop a recovery wellness plan. So when we're looking at all of our wellness areas, the Vanderbilt one is the one that I use as a model, but you can of course always pull out your RCA manual and look from your recovery wellness standpoint. But how are you taking care of your spirit and soul, your mind-body connection, your relationships and community, your sleep and rest, environment, food and nourishment, movement, exercise, and play. I love that they put play in there, and your daily rhythm and balance. And in the center is that compassionate self-awareness. Why do we talk about these things? So self-compassion and self-care, as you see from the arrows, are intertwined. They feed each other. So when we're taking care of ourselves, that self-compassion develops. And by having self-compassion, we're more apt to take care of ourselves, right? So it's this circle and this cycle. When you step out of that and stop doing the self-care, tend to have less self-compassion. You're tending to meet the needs of others rather than yourself. So why do we talk about so many different aspects within this wellness field? Is because you can't impact one without impacting another, right? So you can't impact your relationships and community, have some major change, such as, let's look at the overdoses happening in the recovery community, and not have it affect your sleep and rest or your daily rhythm and balance, right? So they're all intertwined. When we impact one area of this circle, another area is impacted. Why we have the compassionate self-awareness in the middle is because of all the cliche sayings you've already heard. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to put on your oxygen mask first before helping others. It's that there is this kind of counterintuitive piece that when we are able to function for ourselves in our highest self, right? So we're eating the foods that are nourishing. We are in our community. We have an environment that's peaceful around us. You're getting outside to exercise or having that joy of play. You're sleeping. All of these things, you can actually give more than you would if you weren't doing these things. So we forget because we think, well, if we put ourselves first or we do this self-care and self-love, then how am I going to show up for others? Like, I don't have time for all of this in the day. And we're going to show in a couple slides, you do have time for all of this in a day. So picking small things And those healthy behaviors will help replenish you. And I'd encourage you as a coach to get a recovery coach. Do coaching yourself as part of your self-care and self-compassion. Create this wellness plan for yourself. Look at the areas that you're falling short and how can you build them up and how can you take care of yourself? Because burnout is real. The pain is real, and we're never going to ignore the fact that those are painful moments, that we're tired, that this is happening. We're going to feel them and take action. So how do you connect the two? How do you feel and take action? Keeps jumping 2 slides. Sorry about that. So we're going to have another reflection moment on building resilience. So if you grab that pen and paper again and jot down, if you don't have pen and paper, just think about it. How do you currently overcome compassion fatigue? When are you feeling your best self? What makes you feel good? And what rejuvenates you? What rejuvenates one person doesn't necessarily rejuvenate another. Some people like to go for a run and feel completely energized after. Some people like to take a nap. You know, it's different for everyone. So take a few minutes and reflect for yourself on what builds your own resilience. Okay, we're going to take just a couple more minutes. Okay, if you're still writing, keep writing. But what I would love to see, since we don't have faces today, is in the chat, you can write what rejuvenates you for everyone to see. What rejuvenates you? Is it that nap? I'm a napper, clearly. That's why I keep saying it. Donna's a napper. Sleep rejuvenates her. God, higher power, sleep. Playing music with my band, love a good nap, time alone with myself, watching Hallmark holiday movies. Yes, I'm with you on the Hallmark movies. Walking in the woods. Oh, so 3 people wrote walking in the woods at the same exact time. That's amazing. Silence, meditation, prayer, alone time, good food, feet in the sand, a dark roast and time with your kiddo, naps, venting, right? Sometimes just getting it out, right? We can't hold all of this in. That's where having a coach or a therapy. Grandbaby time, hiking, meditation, family, listening to music. I encourage everyone to scroll through the chat and see what's coming up, because you can take those for yourself too. Of like, oh, I didn't think of that. I love going to the ocean. I haven't been to the ocean in days or weeks. Let me put that on my self-care list. When was the last time I read a good book? Me time. The grandkids are coming in hot right now. All of these things that rejuvenate our souls, right? Because we're people and we have souls and we're feeling. So how do we rejuvenate that joy? What's making us feel good? There's plenty of hard things in this world and in this field, right? There is heartache that is going to continue to exist, unfortunately, longer than any of us would like. So how do we balance that with the joy? Cooking and baking. I just keep reading these because it's fun. Thrift store shopping, arranging flowers, aromatherapy, and a salt bath. Such good ideas for self-care. So jot down any that you saw that you haven't thought of yourself, and practice them, right? So long car rides nowhere. And on a sunny day with the windows down and the music blasting and singing, I mean, joy, right? Joy. So they're continuing to come in of laughter and comedies, but we're going to keep moving. You can take these questions and keep reflecting on them. You know, keep seeing what comes up for you, and put that as a reminder for yourself. So you're going to see on the next slide that some of these are what we just talked about. But here are 5 ways to overcome compassion fatigue in the moment. So you can have 5 tools. I'm going to guess that most people on here have at least 3, if not all 5 of these already in their toolbox from being in recovery, right? So we are gifted in recovery with so many great tools in this community through coaching, through our recovery programs, whatever walk of path you have, is that we get these nuggets. And what we can do is bring these nuggets into our own professional life for how do we overcome this feeling of defeat, this depletion. So the first one, get in your body. This can be exercise, movement, play. It could also be that napping, that sand on your toes, I saw someone say, you know, putting the feet in there and feeling that mindfulness. In today's world, we're often outside of our body. We've got phones, we've got the computer, we've got all this stuff, especially now in the last 2 years where we're digital more than ever, we're connected. What that does is it blocks us from being within, right? So we can get in our head. There's this way of just like high speed life. Our attention span has gone from like down. We can't focus anymore. What that is also doing is it's taking us outside of our body. So we are distracted. Coming into your body and noting, I have a body. Be as simple as these are my arms. This is my face. Taking some time to put lotion on your hands or brush your hair or do your favorite yoga practice. How do you get into your body? Being in your body brings you into the present. So brings you into the moment where the distraction can fade away. Really important part of self-compassion that we don't think about often because it seems obvious, right? So if you're having that moment where you're overwhelmed, something has happened, take a step back. You can't do a full yoga practice or go for a run, and simply say, I am in my body. I'm in my body. Go through a mental list of body parts, my head, my ears, my heart, and feel your body. Notice the aches and pains. Notice if it's trying to tell you something. And acknowledge it. I have a headache today. Seems so simple. That simple acknowledgement brings you to the present.
that being present is self-care. That self-care is self-compassion. I'm going to take it a step farther. I have a headache. Oh, I haven't eaten or had water. That's probably why I have a headache. Self-compassion, self-care, action. Okay, let's circle again. Breathe. Breathe is my favorite. How many people, I can't see you, but I'm going to ask this question, hold their breath, that you realize you're at the computer and you haven't actually been breathing? You have. Often I see the word come up, right? We hold our breath. Yep. We do it all the time, often. These words, breathing, our most basic need, gets put on the shelf because we're helping someone else. So what a deep breath can do is it can reset your nervous system. So what I love about all of these tools is we're looking at how neuroscience meets what we've always looked at as kind of like a alternative health or woo-woo, like out there. No, there's neuroscience to support this. With a deep breath, we reset our nervous system. So you are actually doing that self-compassion, self-care. So it can be just one deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and a sigh releases a lot. Highly recommend 3 deep breaths for that full reset. If you want to take it a step further, there's alternate nostril breathing. You might want to be by yourself while you do this, and not in the middle of a room, but if you are super confident and comfortable, go for it. Could teach someone else. And where we take one full exhale out through your nose. Okay, so you get all that air out. You're going to take your thumb and plug one side. And when that side is plugged, I'm not going to do it so I don't have a totally Muppet voice. When that side is plugged, you're going to inhale through the other nostril. So in this case, plug in the right side, inhale through the left nostril, and then you're going to switch and plug the left nostril and breathe out the right. And you're then breathe in the right, out the left. Okay, take some coordination, but that will bring you, because you've got to concentrate, or if you're like, I should say, if you're like me, you will need to concentrate very hard on that. And it brings you in to the present. So it slows down your nervous system, resets you, brings you present, and then you can show up for others. Okay. Meditation. There are so many ways to meditate. I'm just doing a quick time check. There are so many ways to meditate. It does not need to be on a pillow in a silent room for an hour. A meditation can be going for a walk. It can be doing your 5 senses. It can, so what is 5 senses? It's noting what you see around you, what you smell, what you hear, what you feel, and what you taste. If you want to add a 6th sense, you can go to your emotional feelings or intuition of what's going on right now. You go through those, it gives you the framework for a quick meditation on the spot. And if you enjoy a silent meditation on a pillow for an hour, you can do that too. So there's guided meditation, there's silent. The best thing for meditation is to find what works for you. Just like the pathways of recovery, there's not one meditation that works for everyone. So find which meditation works best for you and the style. Insight Timer, a great free app to have on your phone that can show you meditations to do in 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, just music, guided words, only a chime going off. However you want, you can set that up in a free app. Your Headspace is another one for anyone who's just starting the meditation journey and would like to explore, what's out there. Write it out. Oh, and there's some great suggestions. So if you want to look in the chat too, there's some suggestions on different breathing exercises, a link that you can go to for breathing techniques. There's some great stuff being shared because you all already have the tools. Oh, and someone just reminded Angela, thank you, that Headspace is on Netflix right now. So you don't even need to download the app, or I think Headspace is a paid one. You can get it free on Netflix, and it explains how your brain works with meditation. So write it out. We had you do 2 writing practices. Sorry, I'm used to doing this with my partner. I had you do 2 writing exercises because when we write, it is another way to get in touch with ourselves. So putting pen to paper is resetting that brain. It's doing a new action. So it's coming into the moment. You're actually having to, if you did it pen to paper, your brain is working in a different way. So you are using a different, we'll say, muscle, to keep it as simple as possible. You're getting out of that moment. So when you write something out, it is often a way to get in touch with a feeling or a piece of you that you have neglected. Writing tends to really open up this path of, what do I need? Right? I hadn't even gone there yet because my thoughts can't keep up, or I'm doing everything else. But when you sit down with pen and paper, it can come out in a way that could surprise you. So that taking the time to journal, what can writing mean? It doesn't have to be just for yourself. I saw some Tabitha says she has a pen pal. Writing to someone else, sending a card or a note to someone in the mail. How exciting and lovely for them and for you. Okay. Keeping a journal, writing prompts. So if you're not someone that can do freehand writing, there's plenty of prompts out there like the ones I gave you today, where you can get questions to help you get into that moment. Having writing prompts ready for when you're overwhelmed. So you don't have to search in that moment, but that you've got them that you can just pull over. And last, but certainly not least, is practicing gratitude. Gratitude allows for us to see the good. So one thing I like to make really clear, and I did earlier as well, is that it's not to ignore the pain. This is not to ignore the real feelings that are happened. The feelings cannot move through us unless they move through us. So we have to feel them, right? So it's not putting on rose-colored glasses and acting like everything else doesn't exist. It's, where is the good in this? So I have my feelings. This is hard. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I'm grateful that today I'm in a program of recovery. I'm grateful that the sun is coming out after a rainy morning. I'm grateful to have coworkers that can carry this load with me. So taking those moments, and someone said toxic positivity is a real thing. Yes, we don't talk about it enough. So if anyone doesn't know what toxic positivity is, it's that always acting like everything's great. Like we're going to ignore that this is really hard, but we're helping people and things are great and let's do this. It's that kind of cheerleader positivity that ignores the stuff, the feelings, the hardness, and only focuses on the positive. And that has the toxic trait of brewing, right? Like, so if we keep that in, it's eventually going to build up. What looking at things in a positive manner or having gratitude can do is it starts to change that neural pathway in your brain. So we have these neural pathways that are communicating. If we're constantly in a negative state of mind of this is so hard, this is so painful, I've got too much to do, you're ingraining a neural pathway in your brain to believe that that is the only reality, that this is this is how it is, right? When we bring in the practice of positivity, gratitude, it's saying this is true and this is true. So you've got these like little, I like to think of hiking trails, right? So it's this intertwined path. There's a lot of them. So you're not just on this one group that's going over, you're not on the trail that everyone's using. If you're only thinking negatively, you're on the trail that's only being used. If you feel the feelings, have the negative reality, and you bring in some positive elements, you've got two roads now, right? So your brain is saying, oh, there's multiple realities in this world. I don't know about for anyone else, but one of the reasons I used was I didn't like reality. Reality's hard. So when I came into recovery, it was learning that, oh, there are actually multiple realities. Like there's not one way. Like there is this whole beautiful world and it's got different elements in it. And I don't need to be numb to that. I need to be awake to that there's more than what I'm seeing, right? So practicing gratitude allows you for that more. It's seeing that there is more out there. And that, if you write it, can even further the neural pathway to exist more. So if you pair any of these, this is where I'm going to really geek out on neuroscience, but I'm going to keep it simple, is that by pairing the two together or three together, you're going to create an even bigger groove. So let's go back to the hiking analogy. You're on a trail, you're on the Appalachian Trail, and it is well groomed. People are on it every day, and it's this pathway, right? But you want to off-road a little bit. You want to see, you heard there's a great town over there, and you want to go grab a cup of coffee from a cafe. But you got to kind of bushwhack to get there. So that pathway is not in yet. Okay, stay with me. This is going somewhere. If you pair two things, the pathway goes stronger. So I think the coffee analogy was really out there. So let me do this again. If you get in your body while breathing, you are going to be more present. Okay, so you're going to have a pathway that has more definition. So this is where I'm going with the analogy. Then other people can go grab that cup of coffee. So the pathway gets a bigger groove. So how this also works, since I'm on the coffee kick, let's say you are in the grocery store and you pass someone and you're like, I recognize that person. I know their face. Is it from the Recovery Community Center? Is it from high school? Like, how do I know this person? And you can't think of it. But then you're in a different aisle. You happen to be walking down the coffee aisle because I'm on a coffee kick, and you see this person and you smell the coffee. Suddenly, that's the barista at Starbucks. Why does your brain know that? Because you've combined two senses. So you combine two things which make that neural pathway stronger. When you combine two of these things, writing out your gratitude, meditating on what you're grateful for, and then writing it out, breathing while you're in your body, it's going to have a stronger influence. So I hope I didn't lose anyone with that. So these are 5 things you can do on the fly, anywhere you are. And that is it for the presentation piece of compassion fatigue that we have visible. If you'd like to reach out, I'm going to open it up for Q&A in a second. I saw one come in. Wilkinson, my lovely partner, couldn't be here today, but my email, Sarah Kelly at Love Yourself. If they have a website, feel free to reach out at any time with any questions, and we'd love to hear from you. Oh, I just got something that says my internet is unstable. So I'm going to stop the screen share so that gives it a little less to do, and wrap up before going into the Q&A with just like actually, we're gonna do Q&A and then I've got to wrap up for us all together. So first asked question, feel free to put these into the chat. Oh, someone didn't grab my email, so I'll put that in the chat. So you can chat your question or you can go to the Q&A tab and I will make sure to look at it. First one is, what's your thoughts on accepting the challenge, negative, struggle as an opportunity to grow? Like accepting that the negative part is part of the journey, which would be positive. Is that what you're talking about? Great question. It's individualized, right? So it's such a philosophical question and a great one to go into with your coach, because it'd be, what is it for you? Is a difficult experience something that you have seen growth out of and therefore it's positive? Is that one of your takeaways? You know, is a negative part of your journey? Has it helped others? And that is fulfilling some positive and happiness in your life. It's a really individual question. What I would say for my personal is that I always find accepting challenges, negative things, struggles as that opportunity of growth. I find that, you know, they give a resilience. So every time that something hard happens, it's easier to bounce sometimes from it because there is the experience of having gotten through it. So there's a strength in, growth that comes that then can propel me further. So I would say that's a very individualized question. Did it answer it? Any other questions that have come up? No, just give it a second. Yeah. You're so welcome. I'm so grateful for everyone here today. So as I don't see any questions come up, where do you practice from? So I have a private practice for wellness coaching. That's Sarah Kelly Coaching, that I do direct coaching there. Love Yourself is a company that is all virtual for online courses. And we do live workshops. We are based out of Portland, Maine, and out of Saugerties, New York. So 2 locations that we pivoted to becoming online very quickly during COVID. But our website is loveyourselfevents.com, and you can go on there. We do have some free meditations and online courses anywhere, anytime you'd like to do them. My email again, which I'll write in the chat, is sarah@loveyourselfevents.com. And we'd love to see you on some other things. As for recovery coaching, I do train through PRCC and am in the Portland area and love the community center, recovery center, and everything they're doing for recovery coaching. Okay. Some comments about remembering compassion and keeping that forefront of mind. So I'm going to just say compassion for others is incredible, and having that self-compassion. So when you are thinking of how you are towards someone you love, how can you reflect that back to yourself? This is difficult sometimes. If you need to picture your best friend, your partner, your parent, your child, your dog, how would you treat them? Start treating yourself that way. So if collectively, to end this section before they close out, if we could take one deep breath together. So I'm going to say, everyone take an inhale through your nose. Long as you can, holding it at the top, and a big exhale through your mouth with a sigh. You are not alone on this journey. We are collectively a community holding compassion for one another. Hold that compassion for yourself
And don't hesitate to collect that compassion from those around you too. You're totally worth it. And I'm so grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And Bryn, did you have a few parting words?
Hi, everyone. Yes. So thank you all again for making time this morning to attend. I'll speak for myself. I found this so, even as the president of the board, I found it so informative and great to be in community with you all. The chat was so active. That was wonderful to see. I want to call folks' attention to 2 dates as we wrap up that Justin mentioned in the beginning. The first is December 22nd, on which date the website for the Maine Recovery Coach Certification Board will go live. Justin, if you're able, before we wrap up, to drop the URL in the chat, that would be great. So folks can maybe bookmark it ahead of time and get ready. And then the registration portion, that application is already live online for registered recovery coaches. For certified recovery coaches, that registration will launch January 1st, 2022. And you can find that on the website that Justin will be linking in the chat as well. So big thank you. There's the link for everyone in the chat. Big thank you to every one of our panelists, every attendee who contributed in the chat or otherwise just by being here. And we really look forward to continuing to roll out the application process, the registrations, certifications, and continue to expand across the state the already very strong network of recovery coaches and trainers. So I believe that's all I had. I don't know, Justin or Leslie, if you want to add anything else, but I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for joining today.
Thank you, Bryn. Leslie, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Deep gratitude extended to all the presenters today, Healthy Acadia, Love Yourself event, all the board members, the support from the state of Maine, Office of Behavioral Health. It's taken a lot of players and a lot of meetings and pieces to get here, and we're really excited for the launch of the website and the certification. Again, we'll be following this presentation up with an email to all participants that includes answers to some of the questions we didn't get to, resources as to where to find trainings, all the links that have been provided already in the chat, but you'll be able to find them all in one place. And if you have any questions, you may reach myself anytime, or soon to come when the website launches, there will be a contact page to send messages and questions to the board that they may then answer directly. I would just like to encourage you all to keep on your journeys of recovery coaching. I know that taking the Recovery Coach Academy, and then Leslie and I going to Connecticut and going through the Train the Trainer program with Phil Valentine and Art Woodard, you just keep learning these pieces along the way, and then taking another training with another co-developer of the Recovery Coach Academy curriculum just keeps expanding your knowledge, opening your mind, and really keeping you open and accepting of all these pathways that we're looking to support. So with that, we can go out and practice our coaching relationships in the most effective way possible. So we're here to support you. The board's here to support you, and we just wish you all the best in your future endeavors in coaching. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a